London Stadium had everything you could ask for in a Premier League derby. Two teams desperate for points, tactical battles across the pitch, and 90 minutes that swung from disaster to domination in the blink of an eye. West Ham struck first with a moment of pure Brazilian magic that had the home crowd believing. But what happened next was a masterclass in how to completely dismantle your opponents. Chelsea didn't just respond, they evolved. 5 goals, complete tactical control, and a performance that showed exactly why some teams know how to turn pressure into perfection. This London derby had absolutely everything, and you're about to see why some matches are simply unforgettable. Right from kickoff, this wasn't just another London derby, it was a tactical battle between two teams with completely different approaches. And for exactly 6 minutes, West Ham's game plan was working to perfection. The opening exchanges told the story perfectly. Chelsea dominated possession with an incredible 93% of the ball in those first few minutes, but West Ham were sitting compact in their 4-4-2 block, cutting off the middle and forcing Chelsea to play wide, waiting for their moment to strike. Then came the sucker punch. Emi Diouf picked out Lucas Paquetá on the edge of the box, and the Brazilian midfielder unleashed a thunderbolt with his left foot that flew past Robert Sanchez. Pure class from 25 yards out. This was exactly what West Ham had planned. Sit deep, absorb Chelsea's possession, and hit them with moments of individual brilliance. Bowen stayed high on the right to pin Cucurella back, while Paquetá floated between the lines, always ready to punish a loose ball. With players like Paquetá and Bowen in their ranks, they had the quality to hurt any team on the counter. For those opening minutes, Chelsea looked like a team that had all the ball but no idea what to do with it. Their 4-2-3-1 shape lacked depth. Wingers were coming short instead of running behind, making it easy for West Ham to keep their defensive line compact. And 93% possession means nothing when your opponents are defending with discipline and striking with devastating precision. But there were warning signs for West Ham. Chelsea's relentless passing was starting to stretch them, creating half chances and forcing errors. The rotations on the left flank, with Cucurella pushing high and the winger drifting inside, were beginning to drag West Ham out of position. The question was, could the Hammers hold their shape, or would Chelsea's pressure eventually tell? What happened next showed exactly why possession football, when executed properly, can be absolutely devastating. Chelsea's response was swift and surgical. Within 9 minutes of falling behind, they had completely changed the complexion of the match. This wasn't panic, this was precision. Marc Cucurella delivered a perfect cross from the left, and João Pedro rose unmarked to power a header past Mads Hermansen. Suddenly, all of West Ham's early work was undone by one moment of quality delivery and clinical finishing. Watch how Chelsea adapted their approach. Instead of just passing for the sake of it, they started targeting West Ham's defensive weaknesses. Cucurella bombing forward from left back, creating overloads that the Hammers couldn't handle. 8 minutes later, Chelsea had turned the game completely around. João Pedro turned provider this time, sliding a perfect pass to Pedro Neto, who finished expertly with his left foot from 1-0 down to 2-1 up in the space of 17 minutes. The VAR check for Neto's goal added drama, but there was no denying the quality. Chelsea had gone from chasing shadows to dictating terms, and West Ham were suddenly the team looking confused and disorganized. By the 25th minute, Chelsea's possession had settled at a more manageable 76%, but now it had purpose. They weren't just keeping the ball, they were using it as a weapon to carve West Ham apart. Key players were stepping up when it mattered. Pedro with his movement, Neto with his directness, Cucurella with his attacking intent. This wasn't just tactical, it was about players rising to the moment. But Chelsea weren't finished. What happened in the second half showed exactly why some teams know how to turn advantage into annihilation. Chelsea weren't finished in the first half. Having turned the game around with Pedro and Neto, they sensed blood in the water, and when Chelsea smell weakness, they become ruthless. Watch the build-up here. This is Chelsea at their clinical best. Liam Delap made the key pass, threading the ball through to Estevao, who was causing problems all evening with his movement and creativity. The young Brazilian showed exactly why Chelsea invested in him. Estevao picked out Enzo Fernández with a perfectly weighted pass, and the Argentine midfielder made no mistake with the finish. From 1-0 1-0 down to 3-1 up, all in the first half. By the 37th minute, West Ham's game plan had completely unraveled. The disciplined defensive structure that worked so well in those opening minutes was now being picked apart by wave after wave of Chelsea attacks. The numbers tell the story perfectly. Chelsea had settled into a comfortable 64% possession, but more importantly, every touch had purpose. They weren't just keeping the ball, they were using it to systematically destroy West Ham's confidence. This was about more than just tactics. Pedro with his movement, Neto with his finishing, Fernandez with his composure, Estevao with his creativity. When Chelsea's players perform like this individually, that they become a collective nightmare to defend against. Going into the break 3-1 up after being 1-0 down was more than just a scoreline advantage. Chelsea had broken West Ham mentally, and everyone in London Stadium knew it, but Chelsea weren't finished. What happened after the break showed exactly why some teams know how to turn dominance into demolition. The second half began with both managers making crucial changes. West Ham brought on Callum Wilson for Füllkrug and Freddie Potts for Todibo, desperately trying to find a way back into the match. But Chelsea had other plans entirely. 9 minutes into the second half, Moisés Caicedo decided to end any hopes of a West Ham comeback. The Ecuadorian midfielder unleashed a brilliant ball with his right foot that flew past a helpless Hermansson. Pure technique, pure power, pure class. But there was controversy in the build-up. Hermansson's poor execution led directly to Chelsea's opportunity. The keeper's mistake became Caicedo's moment of magic, and West Ham were learning that at this level, one error can be fatal. By now, Chelsea were operating like a well-oiled machine. They had settled into their rhythm, controlling 61% of possession and creating chances at will. West Ham's defensive structure was crumbling under the relentless pressure. 4 minutes later, Trevoh Chalobah put the game beyond any doubt. João Pedro turned provider once again, setting up the defender who finished clinically with his left foot. From 1-0 down to 5-1 up, this was complete and utter domination. West Ham tried everything in those final 30 minutes. Ward-Prowse's dangerous set pieces, Bowen's pace down the flanks, Wilson's physical presence. But Chelsea's defensive structure held firm under every assault. The final numbers painted a picture of total control. Chelsea with 60% possession, more shots, more chances created, and ruthless finishing when opportunities arose. This wasn't just a victory, it was a statement of intent, but this performance was about more than just goals and statistics. When that final whistle blew, the story was complete. Chelsea had delivered one of the most comprehensive derby victories you'll see this season, turning potential disaster into total domination in the space of 90 minutes. This match was a perfect example of why football is played over two halves. West Ham's early plan was flawless. Sit deep, stay compact, hit on the counter, but when that plan was broken, they had no plan B. Chelsea, on the other hand, showed the kind of tactical flexibility that separates good teams from great ones. João Pedro was the star with his goals and creativity, but this was a collective masterpiece. Caicedo's thunderbolt, Chalobah's clinical finish, Estevao's promising debut, Neto's pace and power. When Chelsea's players perform like this, they become genuinely unstoppable. For West Ham, this was more than just a heavy defeat. It was a reality check. They showed they could compete for periods, but sustaining that level against top opposition requires a different kind of mentality. As for Chelsea, this performance sent a message to the rest of the Premier League. When they're at their best, they can dismantle any team, anywhere. The combination of tactical intelligence and individual brilliance makes them a genuine threat this season. This is what London derbies are all about: drama, passion, and moments of pure magic. West Ham will be disappointed, but they'll bounce back. Chelsea will take confidence from a performance that showed exactly why they're considered title contenders. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we're just getting started with the 2025-26 season.